Witnessing a once-in-a-lifetime event, people from across the country and around the world gathered today to take in a total solar eclipse as the moon briefly blocked out the sun. Good evening. Millions of people made trips to get a glimpse of the rare celestial event, traveling to spots within the path of totality.
Those in the path saw the moon completely block out the sun, plunging the area into darkness for several minutes. We have team coverage of today's eclipse with Rahim Ladani in Niagara region and our Natalie Johnson at the Toronto Zoo. Let's begin with you, Rahim. He was one of the many who made the trip to Niagara today. Rahim.
Michelle and Nathan, good evening. I'll tell you, it has been a range of emotions for everyone that came down here to the Niagara region to witness this total solar eclipse. For most of the day, there was a significant amount of cloud cover, and you can see the disappointment on people's faces. But then in the 2 o'clock hour, we saw a few sunny breaks, and there were some cheers. And then as we approached that moment of totality, there was an eruption of cheering as people got to see what they had been long waiting for. Standing shoulder to shoulder with little room to move, Niagara Falls has never seen this many people come together for a single event.
This feels like a combination of Super Bowl, Woodstock, and Christmas morning.
While clouds covered the Niagara sky, those who traveled from around the world to witness astronomical history didn't seem bothered.
I'm from Colombia.
We're coming from Virginia. We got here on Saturday.
It's absolutely fantastic. It's been really, really good, really good.
An estimated crowd of 1 million people, each tightly holding on to their solar eclipse sunglasses.
Over at the Welcome Center near the border on the New York side, NASA was just handing them out for free as well.
My school actually offered them to every student, so I was able to get my glasses from the school.
But Robbie Benson has his own unique protection.
We had a case of beer here in the house, and we cut the box up, and we taped the welding glass on there.
Just south of the border, crowds also gathered for this rare experience. The excitement matched with the unknown of what to expect.
I want to feel like astonished, spooked a little. Like, I just want to see how it looks like, just for it to still be like the afternoon and like it just goes dark.
As the moon drew closer in front of the sun, seagulls reacted to daylight turning to twilight, coupled with a drop in temperature. Then, as the moment of totality finally arrived, the crowd erupted.
I am so excited. I mean, how incredible is this? It doesn't get any better.
This was her trip. I didn't think I'd be excited, but this is really surreal. I'm very glad to be here.
For many, seeing the total solar eclipse in the path of totality is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Amazed! I can't believe it. It's once in a lifetime we get to do this. Awesome.
While others see it as a moment of inspiration.
I'm really interested in space and mechanical, building rockets and stuff. So I want to be an aerospace engineer when I'm older.
And for those like Sam, who flew here from the United Kingdom,
I'm on top of the world. It's amazing. I sort of love that it was kind of cloudy for part of it, but then it just showed up and everyone cheered. It was absolutely incredible.
A moment in time they'll forever hold in their memory. Now, the events here in Niagara Falls have not completely wrapped up. There is still a concert that is going on. It's going to go on well into the night, and this entire spectacle is going to be capped off with a fireworks display at 10 o'clock. And also, it's important to mention that the region of Niagara has also now ended the state of emergency. Reporting live, I'm Rahim Ladani. Michelle and Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you. Nice to see the sun there now, Rahim. Appreciate it. Well, people were not the only ones taking in the solar eclipse. Animals were as well.
Many gathered at the Toronto Zoo this afternoon to monitor how animals reacted to the phenomenon. CTV's Natalie Johnson was among those taking in the eclipse at the zoo and joins us live with more. Natalie.
Well, Nathan, 5,700 scientists in the making came by the Toronto Zoo here today wearing their eclipse glasses to take a look at how the animals would respond to the darkening sky and the drop in temperature. Ultimately, it really depended on what species they decided to watch at the time of the eclipse, but for some, it was an eventful afternoon. As the sun slowly disappeared behind the moon, all eyes that weren't on the sky were on the wolves. The pack delighting the crowd as they frolicked during the eclipse.
I noticed that the wolves keep running around, which is normally not what they do, at least during the daytime.
How they adapt to the weather.
Yeah, I see it!
Nice.
Thousands of zoogoers out to witness the rare celestial event alongside the animals.
It was like a half moon that was orange.
It was like orange dot, and then it kept on growing and growing. and then we can't see it anymore.
I didn't expect it to suddenly just disappear. And
a bright light, a small little bright light when I seen it, and then there was like a burst of orange around it.
This is like my first time ever seeing an eclipse. I've seen it only in pictures. Seeing it in real time is an amazing experience.
All acting as citizen scientists for the zoo, who asked them for their help in documenting animal behavior during the eclipse.
Imagine what it's like for animals who actually don't have social media. They don't have regular media. They don't know this is coming. So the chance to monitor and see how they react to something completely unexpected that's a long way outside of their normals, I think it's an important opportunity for us to test some hypotheses, get the community involved, and improve our understanding of the animals in our care.
It's a very unique opportunity for us to study something that the animals don't have any sort of adaptation for, because it happens so rarely.
Among the anecdotal findings, the polar bears didn't really seem to care.
Especially the bears, they look more lazier.
But the wolves were a source of interest for visitors and researchers alike.
Eerie seeing that. Honestly, I was kind of like, my attention was divided between the eclipse itself and the wolves, but of course, like at the moment off, I was looking at the wolves. And it was pretty interesting to see how the activity level was pretty high around that time.
And it's really exciting that we get to share it with our guests and our community and citizen scientists and young scientists that are so excited about the eclipse and they're so excited about animals, and they get to learn how to collect data and what happens with the data and what we can find with that data.
An experienced 5-year-old Kennedy won't soon forget.
The moon started shoving the sun away to block it, then it's gonna start getting dark, like it's nighttime.
An amusing afternoon for animal lovers, a shining opportunity for science. And all of the information and data that was collected here today will be shared with other zoos and institutions so that the next cities to experience a solar eclipse will have additional insight into how the animals react. Reporting live at the zoo, I'm Natalie Johnson. Michelle, over to you.
Thank you, Natalie. And we have more eclipse coverage to come this hour. Plus, the other exciting story today, the Blue Jays will hit the field at a newly renovated Rogers Centre this evening. We'll have more on the team's home opener a little later in the newscast.
And the CTV News Chopper was over Fort Erie as it plunged into darkness this afternoon. Hundreds of people gathered on the beach to take in the eclipse. Now, that is some darkness there, as opposed to here in Scarborough, Jess. The clouds kind of, had an impact on how it was viewed.
It did, but we were outside. It was pretty cool. I'm a weather geek, and a celestial event like this is really, really cool. It didn't have that brilliant sunshine that we were going to see, that extreme contrast, but it got dark and it got cold as that eclipse really took place. We were at about 99.9% here, so not totality, but pretty close. All of that cloud cover, all the darkness, it's gone, and we're looking at sunshine. Late, but better than never. Temperature-wise, it is really mild. We're sitting at 20 right now through Windsor, 16 in London, still sitting around 13, a little late day warm up thanks to that sunshine that made its way out kind of late into the day. And then as we make our way into the day tomorrow and through the middle point of the week, it gets even nicer. Over towards the island in Pearson right now, we're sitting between 9 and about 13, but a whole lot of sunshine out there. The cloud cover was short-lived, but it was impactful when it came to the eclipse. But now it's all done, and so is the cloud cover. We're looking at a really nice kind of end to our day. Tonight dropping down to 6, so we don't lose any of the warmth that we are building up late in the day. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including what you can expect heading into the Jays game tonight for the forecast and what you can look forward to with the warmth throughout the week. Right now, I'll send things back over to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Jessica. A 59-year-old cyclist is dead after being struck by a vehicle near Evergreen Brickworks. This happened shortly before 9:30 a.m. on Bayview Avenue at the DVP off-ramp. Police say the vehicle, driven by a 36-year-old man, was exiting onto Bayview when the cyclist was struck. He was rushed to hospital with serious injuries, where he later died. Traffic Services says an investigation is ongoing. So far, there's no word on whether charges will be laid.
2 men are fighting for their lives in hospital following an apartment fire in Etobicoke.
It happened shortly after 9:30 this morning at a high-rise in the area of Dundas and Maybell Avenue near Kipling. Our Beth McTennell has been following the investigation. She joins us live now with the latest. Beth.
Michelle, this was a smoky fire with crews rescuing 2 men, possibly in just the nick of time. That's the sound of breaking glass as smoke billows out of a 4th-floor window. The fire inside the high-rise apartment building, sending 2 men to hospital with critical, life-threatening injuries.
I just was standing, like I said, at the bus stop just up here and saw flames coming, and then all of a sudden the flames went away and there was just smoke, and then it was chaos.
It happened around 9:45 in the morning in Etobicoke, near Dundas and Bloor. Residents say they saw first responders performing life-saving measures on the men, who are a father and his son.
I think the son takes care of the dad. I volunteer at the food bank, and we give them food all the time, and we see them and we just know them. And so seeing them like bring the dad down and like doing chest compressions on both of them was like really hard to watch.
I see them all the time. Like he'll be sitting down in the lobby sometimes, or the son would walk to Dollarama. Like he has a routine. Every other Wednesday we go to like the church dinner, and then I see them there as well too. They're very kind, sweet people.
The building is run by Toronto Community Housing. So far, it appears smoke alarms were working, says Toronto Fire's Division Commander.
When they arrived at the fire floor, there was smoke in the hallway, very heavy smoke in the apartment itself.
The Office of the Fire Marshal has been called in to investigate, and the Toronto Police Forensic Unit is helping. For several hours today, residents stood outside, thankful the men were rescued.
So sad. I just hope the father and the son make it.
Wishing them a speedy recovery. I talked to paramedics this afternoon. They told me one of the men was talking when they left the hospital. We have no official word on the men's condition from this fire. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. 3 men have been arrested and 20 stolen vehicles recovered in a joint investigation between Peel Police and the Canada Border Services Agency.
An investigation began in a local trucking yard in Brampton, expanded to Bolton and the Port of Montreal, where these particular vehicles were destined for overseas. In March of 2024, 3 men from the Greater Toronto Area were arrested and charged.
Police say the investigation was launched in December and led officers to an industrial location in Bolton. They say it was being used to load stolen vehicles that would be shipped to the Middle East. The recovered vehicles were valued at almost $2 million. The men arrested are facing several charges, including trafficking stolen goods.
Defense lawyers in the first-degree murder trial of Umar Zamir called a collision reconstruction expert to the stand today. Barry Rafferty told the jury that based on the evidence, Constable Jeffrey Northrop was not struck head-on and was not standing when he was run over by Zamir's vehicle. That's in contrast to testimony the jury previously heard from 3 officers who testified Northrop was struck head-on while standing in the laneway of the parking garage under Toronto City Hall. Rafferty told the jury that was not possible because there was no damage to the hood and the windshield of Zamir's vehicle. He testified Northrop was knocked to the ground when he was struck by the driver's side fender of Zamir's vehicle while reversing and was then run over. The Crown alleges Zamir made a series of maneuvers with his vehicle, causing Northrop's death. Zamir has pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder and will take the stand at his trial.
The Premier is pushing for paper bags, calling on the LCBO to reverse the decision to scrap the sacks.
Meanwhile, the opposition says his focus on the issue is a distraction from other bigger problems. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris reports.
Paper bags are making a comeback at the LCBO. They were phased out for good in September, a bid to save trees and keep waste out of landfills. But the LCBO is working on a revival at the request of the Premier. Doug Ford writing to the agency's president and CEO at a time when many Ontario families are already struggling to make ends meet. Every additional expense counts. That includes charging customers for reusable bags instead of the free paper bags that the LCBO previously offered. The LCBO can't say when you'll see paper bags in store again, but they're working on it. Opposition parties think surely Ford has bigger fish to fry.
I question the government's priorities.
It seems like a massive distraction from the Premier's failure to address the housing affordability crisis.
I think more Ontarians want to have a family dog.
But the finance minister defends bringing back free bags.
This government is obsessed with making life more affordable.
The shift as New Democrats argue more and more Ontarians are having to dig deep for basic health care.
People are being asked to come up with hundreds, even thousands of dollars in fees to be able to access primary care.
There's worry that legislative loopholes are being exploited with charges to see a nurse practitioner and the use of numbered companies for billing.
The Canada Health Act says that there should not be any barriers for you to access primary care services.
Barriers the NDP says more patients are bumping up against.
Losing our family doctor to a private facility has put me at a terrible risk. I can't afford to pay thousands of dollars just to see my family doctor.
Opposition parties feel Ontario can change this, but the government puts the blame with Ottawa.
Our government will not tolerate clinics taking advantage of a loophole created by federal legislation. If the federal government doesn't take action to ensure Ontarians and Canadians can access publicly funded health care, we will.
The NDP leader doesn't see the point in waiting.
The people of Ontario are demanding action now.
The NDP had wanted the Auditor General to study clinics charging fees. The instruction would have had to have come from a committee. They voted down that move today. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
The boys of summer are back in town. The Blue Jays are set to hit the field next hour at Rogers Centre.
Meanwhile, the ballpark has received another facelift with construction crews completing renovations of the lower bowl. CTV's Janice Golding is there and joins us live with more. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. Yes, the Toronto Blue Jays are getting ready for their home opener, which will be playing for the very first time at the newly revamped Rogers Centre. The Jays will be playing their 2024 home opener against the Seattle Mariners after starting the season with a 10-game road trip. So far, it's been a bumpy start for the Jays, who went 4-6 in their first games against the Tampa Bay Rays, Houston Astros, and the New York Yankees. That means the Jays are currently in last place in the ultra-competitive American League East Division.
Pitching overall, we've had a couple rough spots, but it's been pretty good, but we're going to be as good as our star players, as good as Vladdy and Bo and the great players on this team are. They're going to need to carry us.
Jose Barrios will take the mound first for the Jays tonight, with first pitch at 7:07 p.m. Fans are excited about both the first game of the season and to experience the completely renovated venue, which was unveiled last week.
I'm feeling pretty good. As you can see, I've got my gear on.
I'm excited. I'm very excited. This team, everyone's doubting them, and I have my hopes for them. The offense got to get going, get the pitchers some run support, and I'm excited. It's going to be a good game.
It's a very tough division, the toughest in baseball, so let's see what we can do.
We just got to get the boys to wake up. Vladdy hit a couple more home runs, get Bichette off the slump. Maybe Varsho wakes up this year.
I just hope to see a win.
As baseball fans may know, the stadium underwent several stages of upgrades as part of a project to turn the Rogers Centre into a baseball-specific venue. So again, first pitch is at 7:07 p.m. and more than 40,000 fans are expected to pack the stands. Of course, it is a little chilly outside, so they are expecting to close the roof tonight. Reporting live from Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
All right, good to know. Thank you, Janice. Work on a stretch of the Gardiner is set to resume tonight, which means lane closures for drivers to deal with. One eastbound lane will be closed between Dufferin and Strawn starting at 11 p.m. as part of the Gardiner Expressway rehabilitation project. The city says there will be intermittent overnight closures of a second lane as needed. The eastbound on-ramp from Lakeshore east of Jameson will also be closed. Meanwhile, one westbound lane will be closed starting Wednesday. And still to come, an update to Canada's defense policy. The Liberal government says the nation's military will take an expanded role in the Arctic over the next 2 decades.
Confirmation from Canada's spy agency that China interfered in our last 2 federal elections. A commission investigating foreign interference heard today the Canadian Security Intelligence Service concluded Beijing meddled in the 2019 and 2021 elections. CSIS says in both cases, the activities focus primarily on supporting those considered to be sympathetic to the Chinese government or neutral on issues of interest to Beijing.
Israel's prime minister has announced a date has been set for a ground invasion of Rafah.
הניצחון הזה מחייב כניסה לרפיח וחיסול גדודי הטרור שם. זה יקרה.
Benjamin Netanyahu did not specify the date, but has insisted the southern city is the last Hamas stronghold in Gaza. The U.S. and other Israeli allies have expressed concern about an assault on Rafah, and they say the roughly 1.4 million people seeking shelter there in desperate conditions will be in danger.
Elsewhere in the south, Palestinians who visited Khan Yunis today say the city is now unlivable and there is little immediate chance for them to return. Thousands of buildings have been destroyed or damaged, and the city's main hospital has been trashed inside. Yesterday, the Israeli military announced it is withdrawing from the city and the area. Israel says Khan Yunis was a major Hamas stronghold. Many of the residents hoping to return home have been seeking refuge in Rafah.
In New York, the United Nations Security Council has referred the Palestinian Authority's application to become a full member. It's been forwarded to a committee that deals with the admission of new members. Malta's UN ambassador proposed the committee meet this afternoon to consider the application. The deliberation must take place this month. Last week, the Palestinian Authority formally asked for renewed consideration of its 2011 application.
The Trudeau government plans to spend billions of dollars to modernize our military.
But it's still below the 2% GDP Canada and the other NATO allies agreed to spend on defense. CTV's Judy Trin reports.
In front of a platoon of soldiers at CFB Trenton, the Prime Minister announced the government's vision for its military future.
Rising and disruptive powers like China and Russia mean NATO's northern and western flank is the Canadian Arctic.
The federal government aims to increase Canada's military budget from 1.3% of GDP to 1.76% in 5 years. That will bring the annual defense spending from $30 billion a year to at least $49.5 billion by 2029. It still falls short of NATO commitments, but the Prime Minister says it's more than what the previous Conservative government did.
The Conservatives actually had us down to 1% of GDP in 2014 and had for a few years.
To protect Canadian sovereignty, the new defense policy calls for a new tactical helicopter fleet, new land vehicles, and the possible purchase of submarines to patrol the Arctic, and a new warning aircraft system to detect enemy planes and missiles entering North American airspace.
After 8 years of Trudeau, our military is reeling. We also have botched procurements of equipment that have cost billions of dollars to taxpayers without delivering for our troops.
But the military needs more than equipment. It's short 15,000 soldiers. The defense minister says the Canadian Forces will modernize its recruitment process.
If someone has to wait 18 months, they've moved on to other opportunities. So we've got to go faster.
Currently, 18 of 32 NATO alliance members meet their defense spending targets. Canada will not join their ranks until well after 2030. Judy Trin, CTV News, Canadian Forces Base, Trenton.
The federal government is setting aside $2.4 billion in its April 16th budget to build up Canada's artificial intelligence capacity.
It's about having the technological infrastructure we need to power our ambitions and support our AI researchers, innovators, and startups.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made the announcement in Montreal on Sunday as part of a pre-budget tour. $2 billion will go into a fund which will aim to provide access to computing capabilities and technical infrastructure. It will also help boost AI in sectors like agriculture, healthcare, and clean technology. The government plans to launch a $50 million AI Safety Institute.
And Canada is offering an additional evacuation flight out of Haiti this week due to a spike in requests from people hoping to leave the island nation. In a post on X, Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly indicated officials had received a number of extra requests leading up to what was originally intended to be the last government-sponsored flight out of Haiti on Sunday. So far, 3 Canadian evacuation flights have left the country, providing escape for more than 250 Canadian citizens.
Meanwhile, it has been nearly a year since the start of a civil war in Sudan, and a single person has yet to make it to Canada through a federal program aimed at bringing relatives of Canadians to safety. The Sudanese Canadian Communities Association is urging Ottawa to do more. It's calling on the government to join the U.S. and the European Union in sanctioning people who are helping fund warlords in Sudan. Canada announced $165 million in aid last summer for people fleeing the conflict. Still to come on CTV News, taking an international look at the solar eclipse. More on how people experience the event across North America when we return.
And now that the sun has finally come out, it makes you feel like baseball is taking place. And it is. Around 7:07 p.m. is when the game starts tonight. It is going to be beautiful out there. Still sitting around 10 degrees, a very seasonal start to the game and the season really at home. It is going to be fantastic. It only gets nicer as we head in towards the middle of the week. Your full forecast coming up, and stay with us. We've got another night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
For millions along the path of totality, this was a once-in-a-lifetime event.
A moment in time likely to stick in your memory. Where were you during the total solar eclipse of 2024? For those who made a point to actually look up today, the view was out of this world. You're witnessing the start of the celestial event, the total solar eclipse, first visible in Mazatlan, Mexico.
It's amazing, amazingly beautiful, once in a lifetime. I think this was even more remarkable than what I was expecting.
Daylight turning to darkness, the path of totality spanning 15 U.S. states and into Canada. The rare sighting sparking emotion across the map from Texas to Arkansas.
It's really incredible.
Yeah. You're a little speechless.
Yes.
And Illinois. This was the scene in Ohio.
Oh my God, I have goosebumps everywhere. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and totality. Totality, everyone.
Further along the path of totality into Canada, the sky darkened, the air was noticeably cooler.
It dimmed as though you were at a theater and they were about to start the movie. The lights came down, and all of a sudden it was dark.
Necks craned in southern Ontario, in Quebec, and Atlantic Canada. Millions of onlookers in awe. And for those who missed it, according to NASA, the next chance to witness a total solar eclipse over parts of the U.S. and Canada won't be until the year 2044, and Ontario will not get a view. It really was something. You know, I was skeptical that I would get excited because we had all this cloud cover that we've been talking about, but it was pretty cool.
It's true. The fun part was just being, experiencing it. And it's almost proof that Mother Nature's got a sense of humor. It's clear now, the sky.
I love it. No, it is sunny outside now. It took its sweet time for that cloud cover to clear, but as soon as the eclipse passed us is when it really started to get super nice outside. So it's like, that's fine. We just waited all day. But it's going to be really nice into the afternoon. And if you're heading out to the Jays game or you just want to get out for a walk this evening, it is going to be beautiful. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. Now, it obviously was an exciting day, and the forecast played a big role in all of this. But after the eclipse, we've seen a little bit of a late day surge in the warmth, and we are sitting at 21 degrees in Windsor right now. We're at 13 here in the city, 17 through Ottawa and over towards areas through Sudbury, Timmins, even up towards Peawanuck. We're all still in the double digits. It's a bit of a ridge in the jet stream, and we're holding on to a little bit of warmth. Tonight, dropping down to 6, we should be at 2. Into the southwestern corner, it's a little bit warmer. Eastern Ontario, they're still a little bit cooler, but overall, everybody having a pretty pleasant evening. It's just that late day clearing. Into the day tomorrow, we are watching for a little cloud cover, some spotty shower activity. Likely not everyone in the city seeing it into the north and maybe east end. But we'll be at 15 degrees in the city tomorrow, 22 in London, 20 in Goderich. We'll be at 21 in Niagara and out towards Kingston sitting at 18. The seasonal norms are between 10 and 11. The bulk of the low set to bring the rain isn't going to be anywhere near us. It's sitting at the intersection of the Great Lakes and a little bit closer to Sault Ste. Marie later in the day. So for us, we're likely to see maybe a drizzle or two, and that's really into the afternoon. Our evening, pretty clear. If you're heading out to the Jays game and you're going to come home later on, it's pretty nice outside still for a walk home if you're kind of within walking distance of the stadium. As we head in towards the day tomorrow, you will need your sunglasses for the drive to work. A little cloud cover into the afternoon and some spotty showers. Again, not everyone's going to see it. The bulk of it into the afternoon up towards that eastern shoreline of Georgian Bay through Parry Sound. Into the evening, a few spotty showers north and east ends of the city, but really this is more just a kind of a cloudy end to our day. Wednesday, the cloud cover lingers early on, but it pushes out and we have a beautiful mark to the middle of the week. Temperature-wise, we should be around 10, 11 degrees, and we don't really see that until at least the end of the week through Friday. We'll be at about 15 tomorrow, 11 for the low. We should be around 2, so a lot of the warmth we build up, we hold on to. Wind direction plays a big role. A southerly wind really helps kind of keep things warm, in addition to a ridge in the jet stream. Into our Wednesday, though, 18 degrees, a beautiful mark to the middle of the week. A little shower activity rolls in, heavier Thursday. It starts to trickle out as we head in towards Friday and through the weekend, but overall we are at or well above seasonal as we head through a good portion of the week. And looking ahead to the weekend, although a few spotty showers are possible, overall not a bad way as we kind of settle in towards the month. I'll send things back over to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Jess. Take note, a prescribed burn will take place in High Park tomorrow. The burns are part of a long-term management plan to protect the park's rare black oak savannas. The fires burn low to the ground. They consume dried leaves, small twigs, and grass stems, but they do not impact larger trees. A traditional ceremony and smudge led by an Indigenous elder will take place before the burn. The city is set to conduct a technical briefing before 9:45 a.m. tomorrow before the start of the burn, which is set to last from roughly 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
The Maple Leafs will be looking for a second straight win when they take on the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight.
Icebreaker here early in the second period, looking for more for Susie. Matthews looking at scores!
The Leafs are coming off.
It's 64! And how many more for Austin Matthews?
The Leafs are coming off a 4-2 win over Montreal Saturday, which saw Austin Matthews score his league-leading 64th goal of the season. He has 6 more games to get to 70. Tonight's game against Pittsburgh is set to get underway just after 7 tonight at Scotiabank Arena.
And Canada faces off against a bitter rival tonight at the Women's World Hockey Championship in Utica, New York.
A minute and 9 seconds into this game, and Canada has opened the scoring.
The Canadians have a perfect 3-0 record so far at the tournament, and this evening they take on Team USA, who is also undefeated. It will be a rematch of last year's championship game that was won by the Americans.
Canadian basketball star Zach Edey will hit the court tonight as Purdue takes on UConn in the March Madness men's final.
This game is what we've been talking about all year. The reason I came back is playing games like these. Really the reason I've been playing college basketball for 4 years.
The Toronto native has had a stellar season. He was named the AP College Basketball Player of the Year and became the first player since 1983 to win the award in back-to-back seasons. However, Edey's Purdue Boilermakers are still considered the underdogs, as UConn are the defending champions. Also tonight, total eclipse of the heart. How the entertainment world has been inspired by the celestial event. We follow the path of TV and film totality after the break.
Eclipses have been part of popular culture since as long as people could look up.
They're often the muse of musicians and filmmakers, and as CTV's Andrea Case reports, she put together a list of some of the top examples. And Andrea, we've been hearing one song pretty much all day today.
Oh, Nathan, I know a lot of people. Anna in the control room is tired of it. Michelle, you and I have both had total eclipses of the heart. So let's get the song out of the way. It's the one song today that you cannot avoid. And with more than 1 billion views on YouTube, it's the undisputed Earthworm. Well, singer Bonnie Tyler wanted to work with songwriter and producer Jim Steinman, and when he got the call, he knew he had the song for her. Steinman, who worked with Meatloaf on Bat Out of Hell, says Meatloaf wasn't happy she was given the song. He calls it an exorcism you can dance to.
In fact, I wrote it during the last lunar eclipse, and it just seemed like a perfect image to describe when someone's totally overwhelmed by love. It's like an eclipse. There's no more light at all.
Speaking of songs, film critic Richard Krause's excitement can't be contained. In the opening scene from Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, the eclipse is a pivotal moment for the apes. In films, the celestial event is also a turning point in Little Shop of Horrors.
The man-eating plant comes to life during a solar eclipse. There's a zap of green goo that kind of comes from the eclipse and brings this very hungry, very man-eating plant to life. And so that's a famous one.
And Kathy Bates's Dolores Claiborne is saved by an eclipse.
While there are total eclipses of the suns quite frequently around the world, it's unusual to have one come to you in real life like we're experiencing here today. But in the movies, when you show it, I think that it's just kind of an interesting way to show something that we don't get to see very often.
Sometimes things don't go well during the once-in-a-lifetime event.
It's beautiful.
As for why Carly Simon wrote Nova Scotia in her 1972 hit You're So Vain, in a CBC interview this week, she says it rhymed with Saratoga. Okay, so I recommend Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon from beginning to the end. And while it was an overcast day here today, it was still pretty cool to watch the darkness move in and out with Jess and Michelle and Nathan and everybody here at CTV News. It's pretty cool. Not much work got done this afternoon, but we're back at it now. And of course, it's an earworm, not an earthworm. Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
It was an Eclipse office party. Thank you. Jelly Roll was the big winner at last night's CMT Music Awards. The singer, who spent years in jail, used his speech to express support for young people in the prison system.
It's important that I stand up here tonight and represent those that are looking for second chances. The kids back in the Metro Davidson County Juvenile Detention Facility, the kids down here in the Austin Juvenile Detention Facility are watching this tonight. I'm cheering y'all boys on. You can be this guy. You can change. You can turn it around. I promise you can, baby.
Jelly Roll took home 3 awards at the event, which celebrates the best in country music videos. He won for Performance of the Year, Video of the Year, and Male Video of the Year.
As country singers, we live and breathe this music, and we're proud to be part of this night and this moment.
Tanner Adele, Tiara Kennedy, Raina Roberts, and Brittany Spencer appeared as part of CMT's Next Women of Country initiative. They presented the award for Duo or Group Video of the Year to Dan and Shay. They also backed up Beyonce on her cover of the Beatles song Blackbird for her latest album, Cowboy Carter.
The latest Godzilla movie topped the box office again this weekend.
Something is coming. Something even they're afraid of.
Godzilla and Kong, the New Empire, brought in nearly $32 million in its second weekend. Action thriller Monkey Man placed second with just over $10 million in its debut. And Ghostbusters Frozen Empire rounded out the top 3 with $9 million in its third weekend.
An unexpected giant hug from a creature with 8 tentacles and the tight bond that was created. The amazing underwater connection between an octopus and a BC woman. That's after this short break.
So we flew in from BC, from British Columbia, because we weren't going to get totality there.
Updating our top stories, traveling from across the country and around the world to take in a rare celestial event. Day turned into night this afternoon as the moon briefly blocked out the sun in a total solar eclipse.
I heard the fire alarm and I opened the door to see what was going on. Then my neighbors opened the door too and we saw a whole bunch of smoke.
2 men are fighting for their lives in hospital following a fire at an Etobicoke apartment. Flames broke out this morning in a unit at a high-rise building in the area of Dundas and Maybell Avenue near Kipling. The cause of this fire remains under investigation.
It's incredible to consider what was done in less than 6 months. I mean, everything that you see behind you in the lower bowl, didn't exist at one point this winter.
The boys of summer are back in town. The Blue Jays will hit the field tonight at a renovated Rogers Center. Construction crews spent the offseason transforming the stadium's lower bowl into a more fan-friendly experience.
Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you ever have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, share it with us.
According to a new report, Canada's housing affordability problems could get a lot worse before they get any better. With more, here's Amber Kanwar from B&M Bloomberg.
Canada needs to build more than 320,000 new homes every year just to keep up with existing demand. That's the main takeaway of a new report from Royal Bank published Monday. Economists at the bank say almost 2 million new Canadian households are expected to be formed between now and 2030. And unless the pace of home construction picks up by at least 50% from its current levels, half of them won't be able to afford a home. The rental market will offer little relief as more than 40% of those new households won't be able to afford market rates unless a significant amount of new rental stock gets built soon. Let's take a look at the closing market numbers. The Canadian dollar was flat around 73 cents US. Oil prices slipped modestly in the US, down by about 50 cents, while they also slipped in Canada, shedding about 20 cents per barrel. And it was a tepid day on the TSX, shedding about 4 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Amber Kanwar in the BNN Bloomberg Newsroom.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Dozens of local businesses are taking part in Spectrum Works today. The event is Canada's biggest job fair for people on the autism spectrum. It aims to find the meaningful work and features virtual interviews, job skill workshops, and assistance with resumes. Recruiters from companies including RBC, IBM, MLSE, and Scotiabank are taking part this year.
True inspiration behind the event was actually my co-founder, Xavier Pinto's son, Zavi. He had come to me in 2017 and he was like, Neil, I'm really concerned for my son's future. He's autistic, but he's got abilities to work in the workforce and there's not a lot of opportunities. And I'd like to do something with that. And my profession is I'm in a marketing agency. I own a marketing agency and I get paid to be creative. And I just came up with this idea when I started to learn a bit about sort of the statistics behind, autistic unemployment. And I said, let's just do a job fair for people with autism. Here we are 8 years later. It's now a national affair. And I didn't realize how big of an issue it was for that community.
A recent survey found 86% of autistic adults in Canada are unemployed.
A woman in British Columbia has made friends with one of the ocean's most reclusive creatures.
Her walks by the water have led to a special bond with an octopus. CTV's Adam Sawatsky has more on her connection with nature.
When Catherine Dobrovolsky began her daily walks by the water, she never expected to form a friendship.
I just wanted to get some exercise in, enjoy the fresh air.
But Catherine soon realized she wasn't alone in being active by the ocean.
Every day there was something new here. It became addictive.
While the creatures Catherine encountered and caught on camera were countless, there was just one that really captured her imagination.
Just watching it camouflage and the way it moved, I was hooked.
Catherine kept her eye out for other little octopi until one day she noticed a big blob.
I just said, oh my God, I got to get a better, closer look.
Catherine was surprised to find the biggest octopus she'd ever seen, who rushed to get a better, closer look at her too.
I'm scared. The grip was so tight, it felt like I was getting my blood pressure taken in my legs. And I was petrified. I was freaking out.
Catherine attempted to calm herself down by taking big breaths.
I just all of a sudden started to relax, and then he did.
The octopus loosened its grip, left her leg, and transformed into a shape that felt like the start of a wordless conversation.
There was a connection. He felt me and I felt him. Oh, you're beautiful.
And they spent the next hour together.
Look at you. It was the best day of my life.
Before continuing their conversation over the past few weeks.
Oh my God, are you ever soft? He's sort of like an underwater puppy dog now. Love you.
Now, Catherine says the octopus she calls baby seems to recognize her, regularly swimming up to her leg to give a hug and receive an appreciative pat.
Look at you. You're so pretty. Now we're buds.
And their friendship, Catherine says, is powerful and a privilege.
I was giving him love, and he gave me love back.
A love that Catherine hopes will inspire others to connect with the natural world, with curiosity, appreciation, and respect.
Good baby.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Victoria.
And just ahead, a day that will never be eclipsed. A Hamilton couple ties the knot at the very moment when day became night. The celestial wedding ceremony coming up.
Tonight, millions marvel at a total eclipse.
This is really surreal.
I can't believe it. Once in a lifetime we get to do this.
Crowds gather as parts of North America plunge into darkness. Later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special shout out to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
A Hamilton couple made sure the eclipse was a moment they will never forget. Stephanie Robinson and Noel Thompson tied the knot in a ceremony on Crystal Beach in Fort Erie this morning. The pair gathered with family and friends, as well as those looking to take in the eclipse.
I thought it was important, like a time astronomically, like a sun and the moon gathering together. So I thought it was very romantic to do it together. And also I was like, I don't like too much attention. So I was like, hey, there's a solar eclipse.
Really just the opportunity just to share our moment with other people was pretty cool. But to me, it's just to have this woman beside me. It's just to share anything. It's the most special thing.
Oh, congratulations. The newlyweds say the event was rather simple. They sent a text to everybody that they wanted to come, and they also offered them a free lunch and a prime spot to view the total solar eclipse. And they're not the only ones. A whole bunch of people. I was looking at the American feeds tying the knot on this day.
One final total eclipse of the heart. We won't have to say that for another 120 years.
I mean, it's not on a day like today where it's on brand for what is happening. The second half of the day was so different after we got past the eclipse. We saw the sunshine come out, temperatures start to rise, and really became beautiful outdoors. Now, it is still quite warm out there if you're heading out this evening. We're looking at right around that kind of 12 to 13 degree mark, really right around the Golden Horseshoe. A little cooler now through Niagara, but honestly not by much. Windsor, though, I see you, 21 degrees, and it stays warm right throughout the middle of the week as well. Kids are heading back to school after the fun event today of the eclipse. It'll be warm out there. The chance of maybe a late day shower, but honestly, the kids will be home from school before any of that happens. Getting in towards our day tomorrow through Wednesday, it gets nicer and nicer. The only real seasonal day that we have is going to be Friday, and that comes with a little bit of rain. But honestly, it's not raining on our parade. It is going to be beautiful this weekend. Looking ahead to the weekend, pretty spot on for a fantastic spring forecast.
We'll take it. Thank you, Jess. That's it for us, but be sure to join Morella Fernandez tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a great night.